What is the worst possible way to be rejected? Not a rejection, but when we were in college, a girl I had been friends with throughout high school said, "Ben, I used to fancy you a few years back, but my standards have gone up since then." She said that in front of all our other friends. Fortunately, I found the whole thing hilarious. Say you almost fancied her too, since your standards have actually dropped, but not quite low enough. Thought I was dating a guy for 2 years. He would call me his girl to his friends and we would hang out every day. Hang out being the key word here. I thought nothing of it. We would be intimate, make plans, eat together, sleep together, go shopping together, exchange gifts. Valentine's Day he goes to Miami with another girl. I thought, okay, weird, but I'm not going to be jealous. He'd make it up to me. Turns out he didn't make it up to me, was acting weird, and I looked in his phone and he got rejected through text by the girl he took to Miami when he asked her to date him and think about the future and start a family. And when I asked him why he lied about it, he told me I was never his girlfriend and that I misunderstood our friendship and our friendship and our friendship and our friendship and our friendship. And so yeah, my worst rejection up to date. I'm sitting here just blinking at my phone. What the frick? In middle school, my friend wrote a letter to his crush asking her to a dance, dropped it on her desk and then left because he was nervous. As we walked outside, we watched her through the window reading it, laughing, and then getting a bunch of her friends to come over and they read it together, laughing their asses off. Sucks, but it's way better knowing she was just a crap kid rather than some vague memory of not having the balls to drop that letter on her desk. Good for him. I was outright ignored. Just not a single thing said, so I awkwardly never talked to them again because they didn't seem to want to talk to me. I went to a bar with a girl that I had met at work once. We had really hit it off from day one, and so we had decided to go get drinks, but the whole day she was just off. Like, she wasn't rude or anything, she was just acting weird. When we got to the bar, we basically sat in awkward silence until, who would have guessed it, her ex shows up. He comes over to the table, introduces himself to me and then starts talking to the girl, and she immediately stops acting weird. And then he left. And then she started acting weird again. Eventually, she excuses herself to go to the bathroom. She was gone for a while. So I turn around in my seat and look toward the bathroom, and there she is, sitting in her ex's lap, making out with him. Maybe he wasn't her ex and they were scamming you for drinks. When the person acts like she just saw something disgusting, come on. First you just say no. If they insist, then you can do whatever you want, but let us have the chance to walk away with just a no. I've had people feign vomit at the thought of being with me. I didn't even hit on them or ask them out. Someone brought up the idea of sleeping with me and they pretended to puke in their own mouth. Like, WTF, who does that? Preemptive rejection. I've had it happen a couple times. Both times were with women, girls who were part of a circle of friends. I never showed any interest in either, but somehow they both felt the need to say, out of the blue, "I'll never sleep with you. It's all good. Things evened out." Should have said same. Glad we're on the same page. Being told to wait until recess for an answer to the "do you like me" question. Waiting, then being told heck no on the playground with a gaggle of 6th grade girls behind her. I still carry the scar, 30 years later. My son is in 2nd grade. Earlier this week he asked a girl out and she said no, and her friends laughed and said rejected. I felt bad for my little guy, but I told him to keep his head up. The next day she wrote my son a card telling him he was brave and asked if they could still be friends. Middle school. I had my friends. She had hers. I asked her. She said no. My friends laugh. Her friends laughed. But one of her friends said to my buddies, "Why you laughing? That's messed up." Thank you, kind friend of hers. Being led on or strung along when the other person is clearly over it. I am currently going through it. We were seeing each other for about 3 months and then someone new entered her life. They began hanging out a ton. She was answering me less and less. I asked her about it, and straight up said it's fine if it's over, but I don't want to just throw us away over me being paranoid. So just be straight with me. Up until then she had been honest, or I think she was. So I believed her when she said she was just busy with the end of the school year, and he was just a friend. Flash forward 2 weeks. We have spent max 2 hours in that same time. Hurts so much worse this way, like I wasn't even important enough to dump. I was just gutted and left to bleed out on the side. This is what people mean when they say they need closure. Just tell people what you need if it's over. I just wish she had said, look, I want to see where things go with this guy. I am sorry, but that means we are through. Probably wants to keep you on the hook just in case it doesn't work out with the new person. Super crappy. I was the first in my family to graduate college and was incredibly proud of myself for making it despite my limited resources and having to work my way through school. My father told me he wouldn't come to my graduation. Said it really wasn't that big of a deal. I still remember the phone call and just sitting in the grass in the common area sobbing while people walked past. Rejection by a parent is something I don't wish on anyone. I was 12. All my classmates pushed me to confess to my crush, who was standing on the stairs. Everyone was staring at me as I, in my prepubescent anxiety, managed to blurt out I love you while holding my arms up. She put on the deepest expression of disgust I've ever seen, and I run away. Fun times. Sounds like thing you would randomly remember at 3 AM. I went on a first date with a girl. We had a nice dinner and really seemed to be hitting it off. We decided to visit a jazz club after dinner. Some guy started flirting with her when she was on her way to the ladies' room. It continued when she was on her way back. Dude then posted up nearby and just kept looking at her and winking at her while she was sitting at the table with me. She excused herself and went over and started talking to the guy. I was hopeful that it was a what the frick is your problem, dude conversation. But no. Soon they were laughing and joking and exchanging numbers. When I decided to call it a night, she thanked me for dinner and said she was going to hang out a bit longer. Holy crap, ouch. Getting stood up. Sitting at a bar alone, all dressed up, waiting for him to arrive. He never showed. Maybe he saw me and was disappointed and left. Maybe he just ghosted for no reason. Who knows, but it was humiliating. I want to feel like if I got tarted up to go on a date and got stood up that I'd stick around and get silly drunk and enjoy my night. The reality is, I'd stick around, get messy drunk and wallow in my own self-pity, probably in the nearest gutter. I don't really talk to anyone in my family about my feelings. One time I was feeling courageous enough to tell my brother, who I am closest to, that I was feeling sad and I asked if we could talk about it. He said, "Number," without even looking at me. I don't talk to anyone in my family about my feelings anymore. It's hard to talk about your feelings, especially growing up in a family that doesn't talk about things. We learn from example is all I can say. I encourage you to continue to try to open up. I'm not saying push the floodgates open by any means. But if you can't open up, chances are if you have kids they will likely learn from your example. My first boyfriend in high school told me I wasn't religious enough to date him and broke up with me. He did this after church before we left the building. Pulled me aside in a conference room like we were having an evaluation meeting. A few months later, he was sent home from a school trip for having sex in the bathroom. My first thought, I guess she was religious enough for him. Similar thing happened to me where my GF broke up with me because I wasn't spiritual enough and she always envisioned her husband to a virgin. Then proceeds to say she knew she could explore more sensual things with me because of my past and then start dating a new dude about 2 days later. It dodged a huge bullet and my wife now is absolutely amazing. Stringing you along so you upend your life, move across country, buy and start renovating a house, and only then learn that she wasn't really serious. Well, I never thought to share this, but I liked a girl in middle school. Confessed to her before going to a new school in a different state due to moving. The day I told her she said, "You, that's gross," then started laughing. A few months pass and I am enjoying my new school and went to visit my grandparents. And I get a call from the same girl who said I was gross. She called and said she was sorry and wanted to give it a shot. I said sure, and lo and behold she starts laughing and said she can't believe that worked, and started teasing me for believing that would happen or that she'd want that. TLDR, fell for a dare call from my ex-crush. Frick you, Ivy. This thread makes me wonder just how many people enjoy being little sociopaths in their spare time. Or maybe that's just middle school in general. I have contradicting feelings about this comment section. On one hand I would like to read other people's stories, and on the other hand I am enraged from all the absolute BS people had to go through as teens. You're good people. Thank you for this comment. It makes the pain hurt less. Asked a girl for her phone number one night at the bar. She smiled and happily gave it to me. Waited a few days and called it. Turns out it was for a funeral home. I died a little inside that day. Well, then it was kind of convenient then. Anything making it personal really. We talk about lack of empathy, but it seems the opposite. If you didn't care what the other person felt, your rejection would be boring. If you want to enjoy the fact that you caused them pain, you make it personal. Exactly as severe. No, I'm not interested. Sorry. Would very rarely hurt someone. I went to a club with my friends and this guy came over to our group to ask my friend's cousin if she wanted to dance. She yelled OMG, EW, NOOO loudly and put her hand up to block him. It was the most vicious rejection I've ever seen to a guy who was being super nice about it. I already have a hard time approaching girls and that crap always plays in my mind to this day when I'm trying to get myself to talk to a girl. WTF. Poor guy. Don't worry man. I'm sure that you can do it. I believe in you. I, myself, have trouble talking to any gender. I'm sure we can do it man. Ask someone out to a school dance, they don't respond for 2 weeks, by then the forms for it can't be turned in anymore just for her to tell you now. In 6th grade, a very overweight and shy gal wrote my older popular brother, an 8th grader, a love note. We congregated in the gym before first bell, with grades separated. 6th graders were opposite the side of 8th graders. She was sitting directly opposite of him on the first row. He was on his first row. I watched as he took the note out, then ripped it apart and dropped it on the ground, all while staring directly at her. This gal continued to mildly stalk my family, and in high school told everyone her and I were dating. I never spoke to her once in my life. That's kinda weird. True story. Last year I liked a girl. I told her. She didn't say much after until one night. I was looking at TikTok and there was a TikTok of her rejecting me to the public. Her saying you, and how I was quite ugly. Deleted TikTok since then. Dodge a bullet there. When my college roommate screwed up his courage to ask a girl out, she told him, if you and I were the last people on earth, my answer would still be no. Dang, that is harsh. Dude I know knocked up his girlfriend that he had only known for 3 months. He was a real loser with none of his crap together, but he still impulsively asked her to marry him. She bluntly told him she was getting an abortion, and she never wanted to see him again. Obviously she was right, but still, ouch. I used to go to a lunch counter near one workplace. There was a woman who I saw there frequently. I would occasionally make a joke or a comment about the weather, like you do so it doesn't get awkward with silence when a bunch of people are just standing around waiting for their lunch orders. One time I went there, and she was there, and there was nobody behind the counter. I turned to her and asked when the guy would be back, and she blurted out, I have a boyfriend. I was surprised. She turned red and left without her order, and I had a crummy rest of the day. Like, I get you felt threatened by my feeble attempts at a single human connection before going to my dehumanizing IT job where I talk to computers all day, but I was never attempting to make anything more than a casual connection. Now I get to get dumped when I wasn't even asking anybody out and feel like it's my fault. So, here I am, a junior in high school. I got this mad crush on a girl. One day at lunch I grew a pair and asked her to a ball my school was hosting. She said yes and I was over the moon. Later that day we were texting and she said that she forgot that she's going to be out of town that day. And I told her it was no biggie, I'll just bring my friend who's homeschooled. A little bit later that day we were once again talking and I asked her out on a date. And that's when she hit me with the, oh, I have a boyfriend. We could go as friends though. Still frickin' confused. A friend from work. Hanging out for a year or so. One night something happened and it was unbelievable. Next morning she says, well, we're not going to do that again. Oof. Happy ending. Hung out as friend for another year. Then she moved 100 miles away. Couple of months later she invited me to visit to go to Disneyland with her and her sister's kids. I was basically the dad to help with the 2 boys. Of course I went. After that, started visiting her every couple of weeks. Finally one night it happened again. And here is the obligatory, we've been married for 21 years now. I love this so much. I've never asked someone out due to being way too scared, but my friend asked a guy out. He proceeded to tell everyone in the school, and on Snapchat he added a picture of her saying, "Why did this ugly bee ask me out? LMAO freaking harsh." The same people who would talk about mental health and being nice to everyone when an actor takes his life. One time I had a date with a girl I knew through mutual friends on a Friday night. About an hour before the date she texts me that her dad had a massive heart attack and she needs to go to the hospital. Later that night she posted pictures on Instagram of her out with some friends. She gave her dad a fake heart attack to get out of going on a date with me. Oof. And just to preemptively answer the person who comments, what if she posted old pictures while out in the hospital? No. One of the people she was out with was the friend of mine who set us up in the first place, and it was definitely from that night. I was on my way to work and got broken up through text with a smiley face emoji. It was out of the blue, and a month ago we were talking about moving in together in another state. A friend's little brother did this on purpose. To set the scene, we can use these names. Bob was dating Carol and Bob's best friend was Ted. So what Bob did was he sent Carol this text message. "Hey Ted, I think I'm going to break up with Carol tonight, but I'm just not sure how to do it. Cold-blooded. MH. I was told by some guy, if you lose 10 kilograms I will reconsider when I was 16. I wasn't really fat. I was 59 kilograms and 166 but every other girl in our class was insanely skinny. That really destroyed me. I had a guy say he'd date me if I lost 5 pounds. It was just such a low number and I was so surprised, all I could do is laugh and walk away. Everyone else in the area forms a synchronized song and dance routine led by the rejecter that proceeds to list and mock all of your shortcomings and problems. And then you get the enormous bill for the training and choreographing and hiring. Bought a girl I liked a rose for V-Day. Asked her out and she said yes. Couldn't talk to her for a week, then she broke up with me saying she only said yes because nobody should be rejected on V-Day. Guess that's not rejection, but close enough. I could have handled her saying no. She wouldn't have been the first. Had a crush on a girl when I was in college and she had a crush on me. At least she said she did. And we kissed. I met her mom and had dinner with them. Did some sexting. But later she told me she wasn't ready for a relationship. Guess what? A week later she had a boyfriend. Another girl, whom I met on Tinder a couple of months after I graduated, had a crush on me and I had a crush on her. A huge one. We had a couple of dates. Made it official. Met her parents. Slept over. Nothing sexual. Had dinner and went to 2 movies in a row. A month and a half later she texted me when I was at work telling me she wanted to get closer to God. Focus on him. Go on a Christian camp and internship, and that it was probably better for us to break up. Me being an atheist and her being a Christian. Being strung along, having someone call you all the time and lean on you for emotional support, constantly telling you they love you, then disappearing to their real boyfriend's house every weekend. Oh, and then trying to disrupt or mess up every other potential relationship you could get into. Had to change her name in my phone to Lying B to get myself to remember not to answer. Looking back though, the only regret I have is that I'll let it go on for too long. Pour literally everything, all your energy, effort and whatnot into a girl, mutually have feelings, finally feel happy after she says can't wait to fall in love with you in person, grow closer over time, spend time with her, she visits for 2 weeks, goes home and says she wants to be exclusive but changes mind after a month because too broken, only for that to be a lie and find out 3 months later there's someone else and have her say she has genuine feelings for someone for the first time. After 2 years. Already living with someone. He says he wants to just make some new friends and answers an M4M personal ad. Me. He's looking for more than friends. Him. But it's okay. I told him I'm just looking for friends. He doesn't come home that night. I'm very concerned and worried. I piece together what I can and find the neighborhood and then the house and the car. At like 3 AM. Me. Is he here? A stranger at the door. Sure, I'll get him. He comes down in PJs. Me. Are you okay? Him. Yes, I'm okay. Everything is okay. Nothing's wrong. Then him. If you want to talk we can talk tomorrow after me and Steve get breakfast. 1997. But still hurts when I think about it. We were close friends for 3 years. I always had a crush on her, but she went through boyfriends like water. She knew I liked her and hinted at liking me too before I left for a long trip. When I got back, we were hanging out and having some drinks. I went in for a kiss when we were saying our goodbyes for the night. She reciprocated the kiss and then the next day ghosted me and never talked to me again. Junior year of college, there was this girl that worked with on a group project. She was cute, funny, and though nice. A week after the project was complete, I asked her if she wanted to get coffee at a cafe by campus. She responded back like a coffee date. I said yeah. She said she could have just said no thanks, or I don't like you that way. No need to be soul crushing. My most brutal rejection happened to me when I was 7 or 8 years old. We took a class field trip to the Field Museum here in Chicago, and during our lunch break I wandered off to the gift shop to see what they had. I had a huge crush on this girl named Victoria in my class, and I saw this ladybug ring for a couple of dollars. I knew she liked ladybugs and I had money my parents gave me to buy something at the shop. So I decided to buy the ring and give it to her. I was really nervous and kept waiting for the right time to do it. I eventually decided to just go for it and walked up to her near the end of the trip. She was with some of her friends, which made me more nervous, but I found the courage to do it. She looked at the ring and laughed. Her friends joined her and she then tossed the ring in the trash. I was completely devastated and tried hard to hold back my tears. Even though I'm over it now, that completely fricked my confidence with girls for a long time. Looking back, I may have embarrassed her too, giving it to her in front of her friends, which is why she reacted that way, but even still it makes me cringe when I think about it. Kids are brutal, fam. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.